He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored.
Neither the United States of America nor the world community of nations can tolerate deliberate deception and offensive threats on the part of any nation.
I will make you understand.
Hey everybody, I'm Tony Jones, and welcome to the Tony Jones Show.
It's not enough. People are willing to take the risk. It's just sort of a herd mentality, a lemming-like mentality. If you don't go with the flow, you're anti-American and therefore a suspect.
The Tony Jones Show, featuring punk, rockabilly, psychobilly, and Providence, Rhode Island's finest, starts right now.
He's a dangerous militia member, I hear. Oh, and there she blows.
Picture of a girl that you knew before.
mediocrity in broadcasting is over. My name is Tony Jones, and you're listening to The Tony Jones Show, your destination for talk and rock. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. George Garner. George, good evening.
Good evening, Tony Jones.
Coming off of a very exciting Rhode Island Comic-Con, 30,000 people showed up to said event. Isn't that that's crazy to me?
It is, especially when you figure that, we couldn't get more than 40 for a major political event.
That was big numbers for a major political event.
Well, that's what I mean by
even sadder.
Yeah, exactly.
What we need is these basement shut-ins to get more interested in politics. I'm a job creator, George, because speaking of politics, over on the political show, The Coalition, I referred to the administrator of the healthcare here in Rhode Island as a very handsome woman, and I am getting hate mail. So I'm thinking I could hire a full-time person to respond to my hate mail.
Yeah, you did mention that on. I saw that Facebook. Yeah, how much hate mail exactly have you gotten for that innocuous remark?
People are stupid. See, now there's going to be more hate mail coming. I shouldn't have said that.
Only from the stupid people.
But, I, as a guy who, and PO taxpayer, and right on this show, I make fun of my own appearance all the time. I'm not in some ivory tower here.
But now, what I'm wondering is what exactly people find so offensive about handsome woman?
That's exactly I wanted to ask. Some people seeking some counsel on this is that in this day and age that offensive? It's not like I called her a filthy prostitute or
Wait, or commented on her Hooters.
No.
That's a very laid back comment.
Offhanded,
actually.
I said a very handsome woman. I kind of interjected and hate mail.
Now, my question is: would the same thing have resulted had you called, a man a very handsome man?
Right.
A public official.
I don't know. It's crazy. That's why I come here and do this show, and we talk and we rock, and it's not as stressful as doing a political talk show. That's for sure.
Of course, the success of the political talk show is probably measured by the amount of hate mail. So
that might be the case. We might, instead of ratings, we do hate mail ratings. Let's get on with the program. Let's get on to a program which hopefully will not result in any hate mail. We do have two very enthusiastic young men in studio. Gentlemen, good evening.
How you doing?
Hello.
You are two guys who, like me, like George, like everybody around, embracing multimedia, multi-streams. Tell us about the band. Tell us about the podcast and how those two kind of intertwine together.
Well, I'm Chuck from Senior Discount. And basically, it's funny because Senior Discount was always a band that was kind of multifaceted in terms of media. Like, right from the beginning, we kind of were like, we got this, actually, truthfully, a long time ago, we got this opportunity to play with Monty's fan club at Lupo's. We had to guarantee a certain amount of ticket sales. We were thrown into this situation where we kind of had to figure out how to get the word out for that kind of stuff. And so we started doing these like funny videos. And eventually they kind of became a big thing, a big part of the band. And it was, we loved doing them. And at one point, I became friends with my buddy Brad here.
That's me. I'm Brad.
and when we were redesigning the website, I'm like, man, I'd love to have weekly content that isn't based on the band, because it's like you can't really release new songs that often. You can't really do, like, especially if we're working on music, if we're practicing a lot, if we're just getting ready for a big show. I don't want it to have this silent website for a month before that kind of stuff happens. So it's like we thought about doing a podcast weekly to kind of talk about what's going on with the band behind the scenes, talk about what Brad's doing behind the scenes, because Brad's an improv guy.
That's correct, I am.
And also kind of talk about the things that we like, just other, music. We've had a lot of local musicians on, movies, stuff like that. And so we really tried to do the podcast kind of to keep our fans in the loop, as well as give them kind of new content weekly, and kind of keep things going all the time. And also because we're a little bit full of ourselves.
That's correct.
As anyone who's like, oh, I'm going to talk for an hour, people are going to love it, as I'm sure you know. You know what I mean? So there's that aspect where we're like, we're funny enough that people want to listen to us.
Yeah, people will want to listen to us for all time. We need to record our conversations for posterity.
And that's exactly it, too, with iTunes and podcast. It is in perpetuity, right?
I agree.
I have people that will contact me about a podcast we did last summer, or last year, talking about what we were talking about, and just think that someday that'll just be out there in cyberspace or like floating around in in air.
That's kind of how we look at it, as almost like, part of this is to keep people entertained, to keep tabs on what we're doing, but also kind of keeping a journal for ourselves.
For ourselves.
Sounds to me like there's a radio show in your futures.
Well, we've been doing the podcast for 4 years now, and we're on episode, I think, 138.
Wow.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
And they're between like an hour and 2 hours, and we really, really enjoyed doing it. I think that we got pretty comfortable. That's one of the things that I'm really proud of, is that I think that we're good with just talking and explaining things, and I think that that's helped a lot.
Absolutely. As we've done some publicity for Senior Discount recently, I felt very comfortable in front of a mic, and 2 or 3 years ago, that was not the case.
Yeah.
That is always my advice to younger kids coming up, because I know you guys, like me, do a lot of stuff with Rhode Island College, and sometimes those kids will tap me for a little bit of advice, and my first piece of advice is just do it. Get behind the microphone, start talking. You're going to screw up a little. It's going to be weird at first, but then it's going to come to the point where I feel weirder talking to people in quote-unquote real life than I do here behind the mic. If I could take this board with me out, maybe like strap it to me, go out with it out in public, I'd be a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, you feel a little bit more reined in and focused, I think. That's funny.
I want to back it up a little bit to talk about Senior Discount, and I always preference this when I'm talking to bands. This came up with Hemlock a few weeks ago, is that I mean this as a compliment and not an insult, but I feel that Senior Discount is one of those bands that have been around forever.
It's true.
Tell us how you guys get started.
It's funny because I understand that feeling, but for us, there's this pre-existing local scene that I still feel like is older than us, where it's like when we came up, we were really inspired by Monty's Fan Club starting out. M80 was playing back then. Even the guys that are kind of like our similar age to us, the guys in Slick Willie, it feels like Bad Larry was around before us, even though we kind of started around the same time. But it feels like we came in late to this to the local scene at that point in time. But the way we got started, honestly, was it's funny because the band Senior Discount was founded while me and Christian's my cousin and drummer, had never picked up an instrument.
Wow.
We started the band to teach ourselves to play instruments, and I remember we used to practice 5 days a week. We had these like very simple songs we started out with, and that's how we got into playing in general. So
you started the band to teach yourselves to play instruments. What made you want to play instruments?
I think we always had kind of a love for music, especially there's kind of this group that surrounds the band that we've always referred to as the VBW. And we referred to that because when we were 14, we used to have a backyard wrestling organization called that, and it was kind of all the same kids that were close to us and kind of we're all there for each other, and part of the band's history and part of the band's continual future. But it was because at that point in time, like, we became really into music. So it became this thing where it was like, it was almost weird that we weren't already a band. It's kind of how I think it started.
Actually, that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
It's like if you have this group of people, they're always together. They appreciate the same type of music. They're always going to these shows, especially when we started going to local shows. Mm-hmm. It's like, why are we not part of this yet? So I think that was a big part of it. And also the original bassist, Kevin, was already kind of had tried to start a couple bands, and they just really didn't work out. So with us, I think it felt a little bit more like we were going to be more serious about it. But yeah,
I can speak from personal experience too that getting hit in the head with steel chairs isn't the best career path. That's something you can't do in perpetuity, and that's why I'm sitting behind the board, and these guys can handle standing for an hour.
Did you wrestle for a while?
I did, yeah.
Oh, wow. Man, did you love it?
Yeah, it was great.
So much fun, right?
Every once in a while, I kind of get the itch where there's like a charity show coming up or something.
That's great.
I'll tell you, it's amazing how much that pro wrestling at some level is intertwined with music.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's just, is there any, is there any area of the musical landscape and that is not intertwined with pro wrestling? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's a really interesting thing.
The strange thing is that politics falls into that too. Music, pro wrestling, and politics.
Yeah, there is a weird crossover. I know. That is
all have a similar...
Maybe because they all have that sleazy sideshow feeling.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
Step right this way. We're going to spin some tunes. We're going to have more with the guys. We have... What single should we play this evening? What do you think?
We actually just came out with a single earlier this week. It's called Cindy. It's from our new album called This Is Not the End, and that's why we're here, is to promote the CD release party at Lupo's. But this is the first single. It's called Cindy.
We'll play that in a few minutes' time. We will also talk about the big show at Lupo's. We'll talk more about the podcast because I know there's a lot of broadcasting, radio, podcasting and I mean this with the most love, nerds that listen to this program.
Oh, hey, guys.
We'll talk a little bit more about that. I do have the new Johnny B. Morbid